Hi darlings, and welcome back to my makeup garden. It's Liz. So today we're going to be creating 3 looks using the Sinful Echos, Echoes in the Darkness palette. So this is a brand new brand. This is the first ever launch from them. And we have a 12 pan eyeshadow palette here. Now there are 8 matte shades and all the colors. And then there are 4 shimmer shades, including one very shifty, it's like green, pink, gold, shifty, sparkly shade here. So this palette does retail for $45. It is currently, well, it's sold out right now, but it will be back. And it is sold through Etsy. So let's get into this look. Well, let me go ahead and insert some swatches here. Swatching, 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 and we're back. So we're gonna create 3 looks today, including the one on my eyes. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Liz and I'm a makeup enthusiast. So let's get into creating these looks. And as always, I will put any information I can find for you in the description box. Yeah, let's get into it. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe, all that jazz if you like this video. Thanks. Hi, darlings. So today we're gonna play with the Sinful Echos palette. Now this is Echoes in the Darkness by Sinful Echos. So we're gonna do a look with it today. So here are the pans, and I'm thinking for this particular look, I kind of want to lean into the pinks and maybe this color here. I think that's kind of what I'm feeling. So let me go into this brush here. This is by Michaela Pot 2, and I'm gonna go over here into this color, Malicious. So I've actually not used this palette before. Oh, there's a lot of kick up in the pan, just so you know, like a lot of kick up in the pan, okay? And maybe I want to use a fluffier brush. Let's try this brush first, and then maybe we'll go with something fluffier because this is going to be my transition color. So let's go right here into my transition. Right away, it is going on. I'm not wearing a primer. So this is kind of like a mauve color. It's gray and pink, and yeah, it just kind of has those taupe tones, not more than mauve, I'd say. It's a good color for transition for that reason, I think. Okay. So I am going to use a fluffier brush for this, but let me go ahead and get some of this color on this other side, and then I will do that. No, this color does have some kind of gray tones. This is a brand new formula for me. These are handmade. And this brand just launched. This is their brand new first item ever from the brand. So I like the aesthetic. I think the packaging is really nice. So let's try out the formula. Right away, it's coming across as kind of a drier formula. This side's a little messy on me. That's me. That's not the makeup's fault this time. Okay, I'm gonna go into this BK Beauty. This is their 201. I'm just gonna kind of diffuse that. So it's more taupe on the eye and less on the pink side, okay? Now that is blending fine. Like I'm not encountering any specific issues blending. I'm gonna add a little bit more on my brush and see if that just makes things even smoother, but so far it's doing fine. It is a drier formula. These are not like cream shadows so far, so yeah, I think that's fine. I would have liked to have applied this color with the lighter, with the fluffier brush initially. So, okay, all right. Are these even? They're pretty even. I'm not wearing a primer or anything. I want to see how these do on their own. Plus, you know, honestly, most of the time I don't even like wearing a primer. Okay, so I think that color's pretty. It's very much like a taupe. So, okay. Very messy in the pan though. All right, I'm gonna go into this shade here. This is called Seduction, and it's obviously that pink color. And I'm gonna go in with my fluffier Blend Bunny brush. This is a B5. And let's just see how this does in both the crease and the outer corner here. It does have a nice mirror. The packaging does have a nice mirror, so that's nice. Let's see. Now, I'm not sure Oh, okay, I think it's just residual. So far this is applying nicely. Let's work it into the crease. I'm not sure what look kind of a look I want to go for yet. I think I'm thinking a spotlight eye would be pretty. I'm just gonna go just above my crease with that. This is going fine. I was going with a light hand because I wasn't sure about the coverage. But the color is building up really nicely. It is blending in with the other just fine. So that's good. Love that for us. Okay. I'm just placing some in my inner corner as well. And I am connecting that shape just above my crease here, okay? So let's see. I have not swatched these yet, so I don't know how these swatch or anything. You will have seen that before I will at this stage in the game. But I didn't want to form any impressions about this before I used it for the first time. Okay, so this is pretty. That built up nicely. It seems to blend nicely. I went a little heavy on this inner corner. That's on me. I will actually take a clean brush, the same brush, just clean, and I'm just going to blend that out. And it is pigmented. It blends really nicely, so it's not a lot of effort to blend that out for me at all, okay? So these shimmers, it looks like this blends really nicely, okay? Now how this lasts on the eye, that remains to be seen. But initially, I don't have any creasing, so that's good. Sometimes I have a lot of creasing initially, and then that's when I'm like, ooh. All right, let me do the other eye. Okay, so for the center of the lid here, I am tempted to use a glitter primer because I want to use the shade here and it looks very sparkly. So let's swatch this on my finger real quick. And if it seems like it's a big particle sparkle, I am going to use a glitter primer. But let's go into this. Oh, it is very soft. It feels really good. Oh, that's real pretty. Oh, I'm excited to put that in the center. Okay, so let's see how this looks on the palm. It does look like these are bigger particles. Let me tap it around a little. Yeah, it looks like these are bigger particle shimmers in this particular shade. So I think I'm going to use my normal NYX glitter primer with that. Or let me try the Kaima primer with it because I actually think I have a defective NYX or an old NYX primer. I picked up a new one and the new one is not the normal formula. Not sure what's up with that, but all right, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit of this Kaima eye primer here. This is their sparkle primer and I'm just gonna tap that in the center right here. I don't think I need to put it all over the lid because I'm not planning anyway to put that sparkle all over the lid, but you know, let's see what happens. Okay, let's let that set for just a moment. I do like the mirror in this. I think it's like a fine quality mirror. It's not the clearest mirror I've ever used in a palette, but I think it's fine. And it's a nice little thing. Now, these are magnetic pans, so you can remove any of these or rearrange if you want. But so I'm going to go into this shade here. This one is called Distant Echo. And in case I didn't say it, this palette's called Echoes in the Darkness. Now, it's sold out the first day it launched because so many of us were really curious about it. And I'm just really excited for them to have their initial launch be such a success. So I am in no way affiliated, but oh my God, that is real pretty. I'm gonna have to diffuse this. It is, honestly, me dipping my finger in was more than enough, I think, to do like a reasonable amount on both eyes and just a little bit more there. And then we will tap it out. Oh my God, that's so pretty. That's like really sparkly. There is some fallout with that sparkle shade because it is a bigger chunk. Like it is a thicker, a large piece sparkle. I would call it more like a large particle sparkle. It actually reminds me of some of the Adept ones. And oh my God, that's really pretty. Okay, so let me tap that out. Oh my God, how stunning is that? Let me tap this out with my finger over the sides there. That is really, really pretty. Dang. I'm sorry if this is blocking your view of things, but I am trying to tap it out and just kind of spread it out a little bit. That is such a gorgeous shimmer. I don't even know if I want to add another shimmer to this. I feel like it would just take away from this, you know? That is stunning. Okay. Wow, well that's off to a good start. I knew it was gonna be pretty. I didn't know it was gonna be that pretty. My goodness. Okay, so let's add something to the inner corner of this look. I'm actually thinking that maybe this shade would be pretty. I kind of wish there was a little bit lighter of a matte in here. Now, this shade does not seem to be that same like super sparkle formula. It just seems like a really nice, softer shimmer formula. Wow, that's really pretty too. Okay. I think this is light enough to use on the inner corner though, and I think that's actually really pretty. I just figured it would give a little bit of softness to the look, and I really like this actually. I think that's just fine. It is like kind of a dusty pink shimmer color. It's an interesting shimmer color in my collection. So I'm sorry if I'm not looking at the camera as much. I'm too busy looking at myself right now. All right. Super, super cute. Okay, I like that a lot. Let's see how that would look on top of the cheek actually. So this shade here, let's see how that would look on the cheek. It's called Broken Expectations. I'm just going to take a little bit of that. I actually think it would be a really, oh, it is a really pretty highlighter. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Okay. Since we're going with the pink look, oh, that's really pretty on the cheek too. Oh, yeah. All right, cool. Because it kind of has a rose gold when you shear it out. On my skin tone anyway, I am wearing blush, but on my skin tone, it kind of has like a rose gold kind of sheen. I think that's really, really pretty. Okay, so let's do something with the lower lash line. I'm going to grab this Blend Bunny brush, and I think I'm just going to sweep a little bit of this shade underneath. I don't feel like I need to add any additional colors or anything. The other brushes are just a little bit too big for me to run on my lower lash line easily. So I'm just going to take this, run it under, and yeah, I think that is just fine. I don't like heavily laden lower lash line. I just like a little bit of color under there. Otherwise, I feel like it kind of closes my eyes off, you know? All right. That is very, very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and grab some liner and some lashes, and I will be back with the completed look. All right, darlings, so this is the completed first look, and oh my God, look at this. Oh, it is so beautiful. It's really beautiful. I feel very romantic. I didn't even put anything on my waterline. I was so excited to like be looking at this. I was like, oh my God, look at it. It's so pretty. I love it. I love it. So let's jump into the next look using Sinful Echoes, Sins in the Darkness. Is it what's called? No, Echoes in the Darkness. Echoes in the Darkness. Okay, next look. All right, so for this next look, using the Sinful Echoes, Echoes in the Darkness, let's use these greens here because they are calling my name. So we're going to go in with a BK Beauty. This is their 202. And I'm going to dip into this shade here. And then today I'm going to start in the crease and then work my way out that way and see if I like how that's operating. So this shade is called Grunge. So it is just like with the shade Malicious, that light pink. There is a lot of kick up in the pan for this. So, oh, that's a very pretty color. And again, like our last look, I am not wearing a primer. So, all right, and let's go into this eye here. Okay, well, right away, it's going on. It is kind of a grungy shade. It is applying a little bit more difficultly than the other shades I've used so far. So let me try loading up my brush a little bit and see if that helps. Sometimes you have to load your brush up. And listen, I'm sorry if you can hear my air conditioner, but I really don't want to turn it off. It is too hot today. So it's cooler than it has been, but okay, so I immediately don't really like how this shade is applying. So let's go in. Now, again, I don't have a primer or any kind of base on. So it is layering up, but it is taking a little bit more effort than I would like it to be, honestly. Now, I'm not doing a halo eye today, so we're just gonna I'm trying to tap this into the crease. All right, right away, I don't love how this shade is applying. So this one is called Grunge. There's a lot of kickback in the pan. And it is, yeah, okay. It's requiring a little more work. Okay. And it is hard to do this into the camera, but now this shade does appear, let's see, a lot of kickback. So it's a little bit darker on the eye, I think, without a primer than it is in the pan. Which the color on the eye is not bad. It's kind of like almost more charcoal, but all right. So I think that's about as layered up as we're gonna get with that one right now. So let's go into a little bit fluffier brush. This is a 201 by BK Beauty. And I feel like I need to blow off like all of if you hear me blowing it off, it's because there's so much kick up in the pan that it's just gonna, like, as soon as I close it, it'll disperse and make a mess. So, all right, we're gonna go into the shade here. This is called Bridesmaid's Demise. Not promising, no, the name. Okay, so, all right, let's go into this. I have not used any of these shades before, so this is only my second time using the palette. So there's a lot of kick up in that shade too. It's just a very dry formula. So if you don't like messy pans, you are probably going to absolutely hate these mattes because these mattes are definitely like messy pan kind of mattes. So yeah, for perspective, let me show you. See how much of a mess that's making? So, okay. Now the shade is really pretty and it is blending nicely into this other green. So that's good. In the pan, this, yeah, it's so messy. Bridesmaid's Demise is like a little bit here, and that green tone is translating to the eyes, which is nice. I actually like that a lot. Okay. So let's blend this out. All right, so see, I do have a little bit of creasing here. That's because that was applying, that shade Grunge was applying unevenly there. And I kept tapping it in, trying to get it to fill that like crease, but damn, it did not want to. So that might just have to be something that we live with this for this look. Okay, so again, I'm not sure about its performance with a primer. I am just gonna try everything without one because that is my normal approach to doing eyeshadow looks. So with the exception of shimmers, I really like using a sticky base for shimmers. Okay, so honestly, I think that on the eye is really very pretty. Let's go ahead and do the other side and then we'll work on shimmers. Oh. So I have some fallout there. And I was hoping I could just take like a fluffier brush and just brush it away. It didn't like that idea, so we'll have to grab a piece of tape or something and see if we can lift that when we're done. All right, darling, so we sorted out that fallout. If you're gonna do a green look with this palette, I would definitely recommend doing it before you do the rest of your makeup, just because this shade right here, honestly, I wish this shade was better because I wanted it to be like so good. The shade Bridesmaid's Demise, this one, fine. This one's fine. It is a lighter color and oftentimes that means, you know, your margin of error is a little bit higher. But this shade Grunge, this deep green, I am finding it difficult to blend. Now, when it does blend with Bridesmaid's Demise, that lighter green, you get this nice, like, kind of medium green in there that just kind of comes from mixing those colors together. But actually blending them together, a little bit tricky. For this, the next time I use it, I think I may end up doing my transition first and having a nice powder base and then very, very gradually building up this shade because it is a little bit more finicky, okay? So next, let's go into the shimmers. So we're gonna go into this one here because we're doing green look here. This one is called Eerie Silence, and I'm gonna pick it up with this BK Beauty 203 without wetting the brush or without any kind of primer, and let's just see how it does. These shimmers so far are very like kind of creamy, and I applied it with my fingers last time, but I want to see how they do with a brush. Now, right away, I can tell you, like, I'm not going to get the opaqueness that I want using a brush for this unless I wet the brush because it is picking up on the brush, but not to the intensity that I would like. So that is pretty with the brush. Kind of has like almost a sheer gold green wash. When in the pan, it's a little bit more mint. It definitely has that gold green like look to it, but as a shade in the pan, it almost looks a little more mint. So that's what it is with the brush. I think I'm actually gonna see if I can tap my finger over and see if I like that a little bit better. See how much like more, yeah, see this definitely for me is gonna be a formula. I just find that do you see the difference in color though? This is more olive and this is more like mint or I don't know, minty light green. I mean, that's a really beautiful color. I like this a lot. I think it's really, really pretty. And I think the tones of it really match like the rest of the palette. Okay, so let's do the other side here. Now I do want like a little pop, I think, of lightness on the lid. So let's go into the shade here. Let's go into Distant Echoes, which was that really, really sparkly shade from yesterday, well, from a previous look. So I'm going to take my finger. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on my finger. Oh, this shade is so good. All right, we're just going to tap it in the center of the lid just for a little extra sparkle, you know? I don't know if you can tell, but I can certainly tell. Oh, a big portion of that just from tapping my finger in. That shade Distant Echoes wants to flake off, actually. It's interesting. It's because they pour it probably in layers. Like let it dry down and then add a little more. Okay, I think that's pretty. So for an inner corner shade, let's see, what do we think? For an inner corner shade, I just used a little bit of this on the center of the lid just to see how it added a little bit of vibrance, you know? I kind of want to go in with the pink here on the inner corner because I think that's just going to be a really kind of soft, pretty, I don't know, but that's what we're going to go with. So since we used Distant Echo, which is that green kind of look on the lid, now see how much fallout that, it's so pretty, Distant Echo, but damn does it have fallout. Yep. You can kiss your concealer goodbye. Okay, we're just gonna add a little bit of that. I think greens and pinks together just play really nicely. I do wish there was a little bit lighter, like almost a white base, but there's only 12 pans in here, okay? We can't expect the world from a 12 pan palette, especially not, you know, an introductory 12 pan palette. Okay, I think that's pretty. Let's go ahead and do the lower lash line, and then I'll do lashes and come back. So I'm gonna go with this this is Blend Bunny, and this is their B4. So we're gonna go into this yellow shade here. Actually, do I need to deepen up that outer corner anymore? No, I don't, I'm good. We're gonna go into this yellow here, and it's called Cynical. And let's use that on our lower lash line, I should say. Okay. Let's see how this is. This tonally seems like it's gonna be a good fit. There's not as much kick up with that shade for me, with this brush anyway. Okay, oh my gosh, what a beautiful, like, it's almost like a marigold, like a grungy marigold on the lower lash line. That's so pretty. I like that. Yellows can be tricky. Like, I have so much fallout under here. My, like, under eyes are gonna look green. Which, we don't love that for us. No, sure don't. Okay. I think that yellow on the lower lash line is actually really, really pretty. I like that. Okay. So I think my lower lash line also needs a little pop of something in the corner down here. So I'm actually going to take that same brush that I used for the inner corner, that Blend Bunny B2, and I just put a little bit more of that shade Distant Echo, which is that sparkly shade. And I just it just needs a little bit of brightness for me. There we go. I think that is more of what I was after. Now the shade, as I'm like making a dent in it, is getting a little bit flaky in the pan, just so you know. So, all right. Let me do lashes, let me do liner, and I will be right back with the finished look. All right, darlings, so this is the completed look. So immediately, I think it's really, really pretty. I'm not seeing any creasing, and honestly, I think it came together really nicely. Now, the shade Grunge, which is this green color, it was really finicky to work with here. This was fine. This was gorgeous, especially with the finger. And yeah, I just think it came out really beautiful. I don't know. There's something about green eyeshadow on brown eyes that just makes my heart so happy. So, yeah, I did put some of this shade here, Muck It Up, this one, as my liner in my tight line there on the water line there. Not tight line, water line. But yeah, I just think it came out really beautiful. I really love how it looks. And honestly, I really hope it lasts all day And I'm not worried about the shadow. I'm more worried about the lash because this one wants to fall off. But all right, on to the next look. Darlings, so for this last look, using the Echoes in the Darkness palette, I've used every shade in this palette so far except for these three. So today we're going to use those. I think I'm going to start in the transition today. The order that I did my makeup with this formula really had an impact on how I did my shadow. And that's actually why I've changed it up throughout the looks. But I do have my way of doing it. So I'm just dipping into the shade Whisper here, which is like this kind of slightly grayer toned blue color. And I'm going to use the mirror from the palette again. So let's go into here. So this is very similar, pretty much all blues with this kind of tone on my skin. In order to get that real, like kind of robin's egg blue, you definitely have to use a primer with that. Let's try to build it up a little bit because I'm not as concerned about having that be vibrant. But yeah, let's get in, let's see how it builds. Honestly, it looks really nice. It is deeper on my skin, because my lids have more natural pigment, but I expect that from this shade. So without a primer or a white base, I'm not going to get that true brighter blue on the eye. That has just not been my experience with any of these blues. Not this formula specifically, just any blue this color. So although the blue that is on my eye is really beautiful. It is a really beautiful blue. Now, I don't feel like this formula emphasizes, this matte formula specifically, I don't feel like it emphasizes texture on the lid, but it doesn't hide it either. So whatever your texture is, that's what's going to come through. I know some powder shadows that you put on are a little creamier, and sometimes they can kind of smooth things over. This isn't that kind of a formula. These are very dry mattes. So, but the color that built up there is really beautiful. That's a beautiful color. All right, so let me go and let me do the other side to matte. Okay, I think the blue that deposited, like how that deposited, it really is just like a beautiful blue color. I think this is really beautiful on the eyes. Okay, so I'm kind of tempted to go into the shadow first, this blue shadow here. Before I go in to add the darker color, I kind of want to see how it's going to perform, the mattes are going to perform with a shimmer down first, because I haven't done that. I'm not going to use a primer because I haven't been doing that this whole video. I want to see how each shade does. Well, with the exception of this one. I did use a primer for that one, but it's like extra drippy, sparkly. But anyway, this shade is called Shadon, S-H-A-D-O. Is that supposed to be shadow? I think it's supposed to be shadow. So the W is not as pronounced there. Now this shade, it's a really interesting kind of like oil slick shade. And I am just going to take my finger and I'm going to apply this all over the lid. Because if you look, it's very much like kind of an oil slick shade. And I know that line is harsh. Just trust the process. Like, we'll get there. But I wanted to try this first as like a base to kind of see how some of these deeper, like this deeper teal color that we're going to do next applies on top of it. Now, using my finger, I do have fallout from that shade. Shadow is what we're going to call it. Because I don't think it's Shadon, but it does look like Shadon with that font. So, okay. So, with my finger, I think this shade applies well. It doesn't seem to be immediately creasing, which is something that I notice about these. They did not crease on me. Neither previous look creased on me at all throughout the day, which I am very grateful for because I have these lids with these creases. And I had zero creasing issues with this. So I don't think that's something necessarily that you need to be concerned about if you have a lot of creasing issues. I have had zero issues without a primer. With a primer, I don't know what it's like, but without one, no issue whatsoever. Okay, I do not have any base makeup on. I just have some color corrector. under my eyes. So, okay, so that's that oil slick kind of, it's very much like, I keep calling it an oil slick shade, but that's what it looks like to me. Like when the light hits it, it looks like an oil slick. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the shade Dreary here. Now this is like a deep, I want to call it like a foresty teal. It's more teal than it is like green, like foresty green. But I think this is going to be really pretty on the eyes. And I am going to use this Blend Bunny B1 to apply this shade here. And this is just going to be, again, like with all of the mattes in this palette, I've had a lot of fallout. So if messy pans are something that bother you, then just know that there is that issue, okay? And we're going to go through and we're going to strategically add. There is a lot of fallout with that shade. Okay. We're just going to strategically add this teal shade. How pretty is that? We'll go back over with our blending brush and just kind of blend stuff out, but that's really pretty. Do I want to add? I'm debating what kind of a look I want to do right now. I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. Just, you know, seeing how stuff does, playing with makeup. It's okay to play with your makeup. Okay, let's see. All right. I think that color's really pretty. When you're applying it on top of the shimmer too, this kind of formula, the colors do mix together. I think these are mostly like pressed pigments. I'd have to look at the specs from the palette, but I think they're mostly pressed pigments because they do blend together to make like custom shades, if that makes sense. So like, you know, you mix red and blue together, you get purple. These are the kind of shades that the pigments do seem to intertwine and you are able to get a little bit of color change by mixing it with other palettes. I know that's not always the case. And I do kind of want to take this blue and I just kind of want to run it under the eye. Maybe not all the way, maybe just like a third of the way there. Now this is pretty messy. I'm going to have to clean this up. But, you know, because that fallout is real. So if you're going to use that teal shade, Dreary, you are definitely going to need to do your eyeshadow first. Okay, let's see. All right. So let me get my blending brush. This is the, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this is the Glam Light from the Michaela Part 2. This is the number 1 from that. And, you know, it took me up until exactly right now to realize those brushes actually have numbers. I didn't notice until, like, right now. I use them regularly, like almost every day, because I actually really like this set. Okay, so that's that. Now, I think it needs a little bit of lightness. And I kind of want to go into this shade here because I think it's going to play really nicely. Do I want to use that as my inner corner shade? I kind of want to use that as my inner corner shade. Let's see if it's light enough for that. So let me grab, I'm sorry, I'm dropping everything. Oh, good, I do have a clean brush. Okay, so we're going to go into Eerie Silence, which is this green color here. It is a 12-pan palette, and I actually think the color story is really well curated. So, yeah, I think that's really pretty. All right, and you guys have been here, you know I like to bring my shimmers up just a little bit, just working with the anatomy of, you know, my eyes. So yeah, these colors play really nicely together. I like that. Okay. All right, I think that it's really pretty. So let me do liner and lashes and then I will be right back. All right, darling, so this is the completed look using the Sinful Echos, Echoes in the Darkness palette. So what I ended up doing is I ended up adding some mascara. I opted not to put lashes on today because I just don't want to. And I also added some of this chocolate brown color, this like deep brown here. It's called Muck It Up. And I did add that to my lower lash line there as an eyeliner. I just patted it on with an angled brush. And then I did add a little bit of it up along, I just smudged it along my lash line and put on my FanFast mascara and some Blend Bunny black gel liner on my tight line up there. So my thoughts on this palette, okay. I like it a lot. I think that for a first palette being released from a brand, I think it's actually a really good curation of colors. I think the formula overall is good. These are dry, like a dry formula matte. So if you like a creamy formula matte, I don't know if you're gonna like these. I personally don't mind a dry formula matte. I just kind of acknowledge that you have to put your eye makeup on before you put the rest of your makeup on, okay? Because there is a lot of fallout with some of these deeper shades especially. So this one has a lot of fallout, this one has a lot of fallout. And honestly, like both of these do have a lot of fallout. The formula itself, because it is a drier formula, that is pretty standard, okay? These are absolutely beautiful shimmers. They didn't crease on me at all, even without a primer. This shade, however, is a glitter fallout over your face. You may not like this. Now, this is not a glitter shade. It's just a shimmer shade, but it does have a lot of sparkle particles that are a little bit bigger. And even with the primer, they did fall down. So just know, use a light hand if you're going to use that, if you don't want a bunch of fallout, okay? If you don't care, then it doesn't matter. But these are really just kind of a beautiful, they're like luminous from like the inside out kind of a shimmer. They're not like a traditional shimmer, which is funny because there's something really luminous about these without having big sparkle flecks in them. Like they're just, I don't know, they're just, see what I mean? It's just luminous. I don't know. Without the sparkle bits. I really like this. Actually, I really like this. So I personally think that it's worth the money. All of these pans are magnetic, by the way, and from my understanding and watching the comments from this brand, that's going to be a standard for them. So I'm really kind of curious to see what route they go with this. The packaging itself, this kind of a papery, like, you know, matte with the shimmer. I think the shades themselves, like the packaging and the branding is really beautiful. I think this font's a little bit hard to read, honestly. But the packaging itself is nice. Is this the nicest mirror in a palette I've ever seen? No. Is it a good mirror in a palette? Yes, it got the job done. And I don't know if you noticed it, but the back of it's actually really beautiful too. But yeah, I really like this and for like a premiere palette, for like a first launch. And I keep trying to think of the word for that, and I'm just, you know, I can't think of the word for it, but for a first launch from a brand, I think this is really good. And I will absolutely buy something from Sinful Echos, you know, in the future moving forward. But I think it's really beautiful. I think they killed it. And the looks that I've created, they wore all day. Obviously, I don't know how these shades are going to wear all day because we're not there yet, but this wore all day. It didn't crease on me. It was beautiful. You know, it didn't dull. The only thing I'll say is that this one, you know, by the end of the day of wearing this one all over my lid, I had a lot of fallout, but other than that, it was beautiful. I've really enjoyed this. So, I mean, this gets my seal of approval. I really like it. Again, it's a drier matte formula. It does have like kick up in the pan. And if that bothers you, then you would probably absolutely hate it. But it doesn't bother me. It didn't emphasize any of my texture. As you can see, the colors are still really good, even though I didn't put concealer or primer or even moisturize my eyelids. That's just like that on my eyelids. So I think it came out really beautiful. The colors are curated well. And for a first launch, I am so impressed. So congratulations to Sinful Echos. I bought this myself. I'm not affiliated. And I just think it's really beautiful, you know? I've really enjoyed using this. I'm going to continue to use it. And yeah, thank you for being here and for watching. And if you made it this far, will you leave me like a little snake emoji or something? Because, you know, we made it this far. And then tell me in the comments below, did you pick this up? Are you thinking about picking it up? I'm just curious. I always like to gauge. And yeah, I think it's really cool. They sold it out. So, you know, it's going to be making a reappearance, I'm sure. But yeah, you know, it's really cool. So anyway, thanks for being here. I love your faces, and thank you for subscribing if you enjoyed this. So, all right, bye. I'll see you guys in the next one.